Hi everybody, I need to start my video again. Sorry about that, I was interrupted by a phone call from one of my friends, and it was delightful to talk to them. So actually, I'm just going to start with the smaller stack of books. The first book that I'm going to talk about is Dopesick by Beth Macy. This book was recommended to me by Olive at A Book Olive. This is a nonfiction book about the opioid epidemic, and I am reading it as part of my substance use disorder thematic TBR that I am rereading for the month of October, November. That includes this book, Scenes from My Own Life by Michael K. Williams, Daisy Jones and the Six, and Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. Currently, I am on chapter 4, page 87. The next book is called Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. This is the same author as the Brown Sisters trilogy, which I read back in February for Black History Month / Valentine's Day. And I am actually nearing the end of this book. I started it on... Wait a minute. I think I picked this up yesterday. So yeah, this book is pretty easy to read, and the characters are really enjoyable to follow. The main characters in this book are named Brad and Celine, and I really have loved the development of their relationship. I am on page 226, chapter 13. The next book is called Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. This is by the same author as the Skyland trilogy, which came out with its final book in the series back in March. I'm still waiting to get that one. This book focuses on Iris and August. Iris Dupree meets August West in a sports bar during her last semester of college. It's the conversation of a lifetime and sends sparks flying in every direction. This connection is undeniable, but the timing is all wrong. August is poised for the NBA draft, and Iris belongs to another man, basketball's golden boy, and August's longtime rival. The two go to their separate ways, but they often recall that electric night and what could have been. While August has embarked on his all-star life studded with wealth and fame, Iris's perfect public relationship has become a nightmare behind closed doors, a tarnished dreams of fool's gold. When August re-enters the picture, the world seems briefly bright again, but Iris's darkest nights are not over yet. To survive, she must build her own strength and trust that her bond with August can endure after all of this time, even when fraudulent Prince has vowed never to let her go. So Kennedy Ryan does a really good job about talking about serious issues in her books. Like, for example, in the first book in the Skyland series, Before I Let Go, she talks about divorce. And in the second book, This Could Be Us, one of the children in that book has autism, and I actually really liked the way she wrote her autistic character. I think it was really great representation. So currently, in this book, I am on chapter 15, page 116. Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. The next book that I'm reading is by a new author to me. Her name is Ella Field. She also wrote this dark romance book that's a student-teacher relationship that I heard about on Bookstagram. I cannot remember who talked about it. It was on one of the videos that I recently watched for a monthly wrap-up. It might have been Carrie Can Reads. I can't remember, though, if it was her that read Suddenly Forbidden. But this book is a modern retelling of the Swan Lake Ballet. It's called The Savage and the Swan. And I am on page 172, chapter 21. In this book, we follow Opal and I can't find the name of the male character in this book. So far, I am really enjoying it. I am on chapter 21, page 172. The next book I am reading is Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is her thriller book, wherein we meet Lowen, who is a struggling writer who gets a job as a ghostwriter by one of her favorite authors, Verity, who is in a coma. And she has a forbidden romance with Verity's husband, Jeremy. So I have really liked the buildup of their romance. And what also is cool about this book is the book that Lowen is ghostwriting is also interwoven within the narrative of this book. So I am at the end of chapter 14 and into chapter 6 of the book within the book. Page 182. I think this is one of my favorite books by Colleen Hoover. It's been really keeping me hooked. The other book that I have liked by her, two of her romances that I have liked are All of Your Perfects, which focuses on infertility and is the only healthy relationship I have noticed in a Colleen Hoover book. All of the other relationships seem to be very abusive. I have also read Ugly Love, 3 stars. It Ends With Us, 2.5 stars. This book will get 4.5 stars, and All Your Perfects got 4 stars. The next book that is currently on my TBR, I'm planning to start it tonight, is called The Star of Camp Green by Joy Calloway. And as you know, I get most of my book recommendations from people that I follow on Instagram and YouTube, but this book is unique in the way that I just picked it up on the recommendation shelf from the library. So I'm really excited to get started. It is a historical fiction that focuses on a singer with the USO during World War I. This was not initially slated for my Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR but it fits very well into the fact that Phoebe is a guitarist. So I'm starting this book tonight, and I'm very excited about it. The next book that I'm reading is a reread of Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I have read this 2 other times, once in 2023, and it was number 4 on my top 23 books of 2023. And then I reread it probably back in May or June of this year. So I read it fairly recently, and I'm reading it again. The reason why I selected this book for the Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR was because it is focused on teaching. Because we have our main character, Elizabeth Zott, doing a cooking show based on chemistry and what goes into cooking meals and all the measurements and all the basic things that make all the compounds that make the food we eat. And Harriet, who is the neighbor of Elizabeth, reminds me of Phoebe because she stands up for human rights and stuff. And Phoebe is a very political character on Friends, and she's always standing up for issues she believes in. Like, for example, in the one where no one's ready, when she gets the hummus stain on her yellow dress, she has the only thing she can find to cover up her stain is a Christmas gift wrap bow that she borrows from Rachel. And she says, oh yeah, I guess I'll be political tonight. And she says to, and Phoebe said, and Chandler asks her what she's being political about. And she says, well, duh, Christmas. And then in a later episode, or maybe it was the episode before, it's the episode where Joey is working at the Christmas tree farm, and like Phoebe mentions how Christmas really depresses her and makes her sad. And I don't know why Phoebe is so political about Christmas, but I think she gets sad around Christmas time because her mother committed suicide when she was 13, and it was around that time of year that happened. So Joey and Monica do something really nice for Phoebe in this episode where they fill Monica and Rachel's apartment with Christmas trees. And also, as Elizabeth's show is about cooking, her character is like Phoebe in the way that, Monica, in the way that she's a chef. And then also, like, home economics, Phoebe's brother, Frank Jr., dates his home economic teacher, and I'm going to be getting into that discussion in another video that I make later this winter where I talk about age gap relationships, because Frank Jr. and Alice is a relationship that I have a lot of beef with. I don't think that relationship should have ever been a thing at all in Friends because it was kind of predatory, but I will talk about that in February. So this book is a reread, and it got 4.5 stars. That rating will not change. The next reread for this TBR is Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I have read from her A Spindle Splintered, which is a short little novella that is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, and also The 10,000 Doors of January. I love her writing. It's very immersive, and this book is about a girl who comes across a haunted house in her neighborhood. Our protagonist's name is Opal, kind of like in the other book that I'm reading. Anyway, so Opal is a lot of things. Orphan, high school dropout, full-time cynic, and part-time cashier. But above all, she's determined to find a better life for her younger brother, Jasper. One that gets them out of Eden, Kentucky. A town remarkable for only two things: bad luck and E. Starling, the reclusive 19th century author of The Underland, who disappeared over 100 years ago. After she left behind, all she left behind were dark rumors in her home. Everyone agrees that it is best to ignore the uncanny mansion and the misanthropic heir, Arthur. Almost everyone, anyway. I should be scared, but in the dream, I don't hesitate. Opal has been obsessed with the Underland since she was a child. When she gets the chance to step inside Starling House and make some extra cash for her brother's escape fund, she can't resist. But sinister forces are digging deep into the buried secrets of Starling House, and Arthur's own nightmares have become far too real, as Eden itself seems to be drowning in its own ghosts. Opal realizes that she might finally have a reason to stick around. In my dreams, I'm home, and now she'll have to fight. Welcome to Starling House. Enter if you dare. I love the writing in this book. It's what I like about Alex E. Harrow's writing is that it's very immersive, like in A Spindle Splintered. it's like you are immediately transported into her modern retelling of Sleeping Beauty. And I love the scenes in this book where she talks about the haunted house. Now, this book was a reread. When I originally read it a couple of years ago, it was a DNF, but I decided to pick it up again to give it a second chance because I don't really think I gave it a fair enough chance the last time I read it. And I do admit I'm really enjoying this because, as I said, I really love Alex E. Harrow's writing, and the next book I'm going to read by her is called The Once and Future Witches. I think this book is going to easily get 4 stars. The last book that is part of today's library haul is Shutter Island by Dennis Lehane. So this book has a personal connection to me because the island that this book is based off of is off the coast of the place where my summer house is. So whenever I see the movie, I think of the place where my summer house is, which is in Hull, Mass. The movie stars Leonardo DiCaprio, who is one of my favorite actors. Shutter Island is one of my favorite movies of his besides Titanic and Inception. So far in this book, I am on chapter 14. I just started this last night. Right, because I picked this up at the library yesterday. And this is very atmospheric. I love it. I love his writing style. I have not read any books by him besides this. So I'm very excited to finish this. It's definitely going to get 4.5 stars. So, the next videos that I have coming out are as follows. Matt and I have our September entertainment wrap-up coming out on Sunday afternoon at around 4:30 or 5 o'clock. On October 24th, Kathleen and I are filming our next podcast episode for our From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR at Double House, and that video will be up on either October 31st or November 1st. And as far as supplemental content videos for the TBR, I have a couple of great topics coming down the pipe. The first one is part 3 of Art Imitating Life, a Chandler Bing retrospective. Where I will be talking about Chandler and Janice's relationship, and sharing my thoughts on that. And then in our fall entertainment wrap-up video on Matt's channel, we will be reacting to Mended Lights video on the season 6 episode, the one with all the resolutions. We will be talking about all of the New Year's resolutions the different characters make in this episode. Specifically, Ross's toxic trait about being too hyper fixated on being the best with keeping his resolutions and wanting to do something new every day. And we're also going to talk about goal setting for next year. We're going to talk about setting reasonable, manageable goals for our 2026 New Year, even though that won't be until January, but we won't be filming our holiday wrap-up until after Christmas, and New Year's will have already passed by then. So that's why we decided to talk about the one with all the resolutions in our November video. Having recently watched that video in that episode in the middle of September. And then the other supplemental content video I'm going to be making is my reaction video to the Takes video about Ross's toxic traits. And I'll be talking about, like, all of the episodes I've watched recently that they talk about, mostly in regards to his relationship with Rachel and his homophobia towards Carol and Susan. And in February, I'm going to be doing a special post over on my blogger blog about age gap relationships, where I'm going to be specifically focusing on Paris's relationship with Asher. But also in that blog post, I'm going to be discussing Ross and Elizabeth and how much I detest that relationship pairing. So I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we will see you guys soon. Bye!